Welcome to Containerized Conversations, where we try to containerize our conversation. I'm Jessica Caffarelli.
And I'm Josh Warhurst. Thanks for tuning in as we dive into some of our favorite topics, one containerized thought at a time.
All right, so we are on our fourth recording of our book club, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So thank you for listening, guys. So just to recap, the first 2 recordings, if you haven't listened to them, it's really just the intro of the book. Go listen to it first, then go listen to those. But
go
the
read
first
it
habit,
first, then go listen to this.
Yeah, exactly. But the first habit was basically telling you that you are a programmer of your own life and you get to choose what you program, right? I would say that we're on the second habit now. And in the second habit, it focuses on like what you should be programming. Would that be a fair statement?
I think it's fair. I think there's a lot of times where this book is kind of repeating itself to get you over the line, right? To bring you to that new paradigm, if you will, that new way of seeing things. And the first book says you can make your own choices in life. You're not just the product of your environment. And the second habit says, okay, if you can make those choices, what choices are you going to make, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And begin with the end of
mind.
How
do you make those choices?
How do you make those choices? Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically, this whole chapter of the book really just focuses on that. How do you begin with the end in mind? How do you inhabit this habit? So you might want to do this, right? You might want to begin with the end in mind, but how do you do it? And so that's what this whole chapter is about. And it goes into nice little details. One of the main ones is the mission statements. So that's something that we'll talk about during this. It also talks about things about how you center yourself. And, you know, it talks about what types of centers you are. We can go into details into the podcast. But, you know, you are a certain type of centered, right? Your choices that you make are based off of what you think is most important. But what it does say you should do and try to shift yourself to is principle centered. And so that's what a lot of this habit's about. I think that's a pretty good overview. What do you think, Josh?
I think that's a solid summary. So I'm going to come back right to the beginning of this chapter. Definitely. And I'm a very big hands-on learner. I like to do things, learn things by exercises. And when this chapter started, it starts off with a statement. It says, find a place to read these next few pages where you can be alone and uninterrupted. And typically, I was sitting in my living room reading this book. My wife was studying for her exam. She's working on a cybersecurity exam. And I was like, I just need to go into the other room and read these pages because I do want to follow it to the letter. And it's one of the last times in this chapter that I totally followed it to the letter. But basically it says, imagine you're at your own funeral, right? What would you want people to think about you?
Oh, yep.
And I think part of the reason it wants you to be alone, uninterrupted is because it says, hey, really think about this, right? Allow yourself to be in sort of an emotional, vulnerable state, right? Which you might not be if you're reading this at a Super Bowl party, right? And I was curious, actually, you know, when you read this, even this is your second reading, did you still come back to this? Did you remember this? Or how do you think about this?
Yeah, no, it's honestly, I find it fascinating reading this book for a second time, you know, probably almost 5 or 10 years later. Like when I read this book, I was in such a different point in my life than I am now. And so I do think a lot of like the exercise I went through, I vaguely remember doing this exercise when I was younger. I like just got out of college. I had my first job, and like a lot of the things I wanted people to say were things about me being a great tech. I wanted people to, you know, be amazed at my intelligence, be amazed at the things I was able to pick up and do and the things I was able to accomplish in my life. that was kind of the first time that I did this. And now the second time I do this, it's amazing how much that's shifted. And it's more of like, how can I help other people to accomplish the same things I can accomplish? And that's the types of things that I was thinking about, and it was like, this is what I want, to see at my funeral and people to say about me.
Interesting. So I feel like I've thought about my funeral, like if I were to be hit by a bus tomorrow. I've thought about that
Yeah,
ever since I heard the phrase bus factor. For audience members who aren't aware, the bus factor is the concept that if somebody on your team gets hit by a bus, how can the team recover from that?
yeah,
It was one of those times where I came to the conclusion that our impact, even if people didn't remember us, our impact is always happening. The people who you meet on the sidewalk and you wave hello and then they wave back, you had an impact.
yeah,
Even if you die right now, you had an impact on all those people. Now, subtle ways, very butterfly effect ways. I kind of feel like no matter what I do in life,
yeah,
I'm consistently having impact on people, and
yeah, yeah,
that impact will grow out in the future. It's kind of like how you have kids and they're impacted by you, and your
yeah,
neighbors are impacted by you.
yeah,
And you don't have to be Steve Jobs to have an incredible impact on millions of people
yeah,
just by the fact that you are interacting with people and those people interact with other people.
yeah.
So I definitely think about an impact kind of like a 6 degrees of separation
Yeah.
or butterfly effect where there's constant
So, but
impact.
I feel like you're not. I feel like you're circling around the exercise. You're explaining this bus effect, but what did the people say at your funeral? What did you want them to say?
So the point that I'm coming out is it doesn't really matter what they say because
Okay.
I had an impact. It was
Yeah,
one
yeah,
of the things that's a little bit hard for me to 100% align with the book on.
yeah,
Because on the one hand, I feel like regardless of what people think about me, I did have an
yeah,
impact.
yeah,
Could I have had a better impact? Could I think about it differently? Sure. But I think some people, they really want to have a positive impact.
yeah.
And I feel a little bit less true about that.
Yeah, there must be something you like. You want them to come up to the podium and go, "Josh had an impact on me," and then walk away. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Just
Like
like
that's
a stranger on the street, like,
yeah. He
oh,
said hi
there's
to
a
me.
funeral going on. Oh, yeah, Josh, I knew him. Like, the truth is, I don't know. There's a little bit of me that says a funeral is for other people. It's not for me, right? It's for the people who knew me to.
All
Okay,
right,
to answer.
let's dig into this a little bit. Maybe we might cut this out. It might get too personal, but it's fine. All right. So so you die, and I get a chance to speak at your funeral, and I go up there and I go, man, I really just hated Josh. He's just the rudest person. I'm really happy he's dead. Does that make like you don't have any problem with me saying that?
Here's the thing. One, you have the only problem I have with you saying that is I feel like other people at the funeral would then get mad at you, and I wouldn't want that for you.
Okay, so that's a driving factor. Make that a your driving factor.
The thing is, I don't think you would say that, right? I think part of that is that I is this like too what's the word? I don't want to think of myself as like, oh, I've already accomplished everything I need to accomplish in life, right? But like when I read this as somebody who's 35, right? I'm still on the younger side, right? But I feel like yeah, everybody who would come to my funeral would be like, yeah, Josh was a cool dude. Like, he sucked sometimes, but in the best ways, right?
Okay. Here, I'll try something else here. All right. So presumably you die in like 20 years. Okay.
Sure.
So let's say it's 20
55,
years. Yeah, it's 20 years later, and
young.
then you die.
Sure.
All right. So I want you to imagine this. I want you to sit back and actually imagine this. So you walk in a funeral. You look around. Some people are upset. Some people aren't. You're like, hey, what's going on here? You walk up. you sit down in the front row and you see this, this this lady come up to the podium. She's probably like around 21, and she starts speaking, and she's kind of in ragged clothes. It doesn't look like she's had a lot of good mentoring. Things have got a little worry in her life. And she starts off and says, my dad wasn't present for most of my life.
Jesus.
Does that upset you at all?
It's so hard to say because I feel like it's just not going to happen.
But that's you. So I think that's the thing with this exercise is the problem is I think you're saying it's not going to happen because you're not going to let it happen. Right.
Sure. Yes.
But
it could happen. It could happen.
Right. And so I think that's the thing. It's like this exercise is meant to be trying to figure out what you care about. And clearly you care about that because you're going to make sure that doesn't happen. Right.
Yeah.
Just like you like hanging out with me, you like talking with me, you don't want me to be mad at you. So that's not going to happen because you're not going to make that happen. Right.
Yes. Yeah. And maybe this is one of those habits where I've ingrained it so fully, right? At this point, even in my life, like other things I definitely have to work on, but the idea of like, oh, you've already kind of accomplished your goals.
Yeah.
Or that the things that haven't yet accomplished, like you are constantly working towards them in a way that you don't comprehend.
Yeah.
Right. I do feel like that. Yeah, you're totally right that like honestly, like even at this point, like your life hasn't ended.
Yeah.
Right. Like
yeah. That's the thing is like you say that can't happen, but like literally it could happen. Like you could be so sure it's not going to happen that you aren't present that much because you're like, well, I'm a great dad. Right. It's the sea captain analogy. You're so convinced that you're the sea captain that you will be blinded by the fact that it is happening. So you got to be careful. You got to be
no,
careful.
it's
Is
so
what I'm
funny.
saying,
I
right?
agree with you. I just also think that like ask my wife. I don't really have a lot of confidence in my own ability.
Mm.
I
Well, okay, there you go. Latch onto that. Right? That should be something you work on. That should be a mission statement.
yes, I want to be better. I don't want to get overconfident. Right.
I think that's a good mission statement for you. I think the personal mission statement is probably one of the strongest things that anybody who's listening to this could walk away from. I already created my mission statement. I actually didn't create it originally when I read this book, and I regret it. I really do, because I actually think having it and tweaking it throughout my life could have given me a lot more direction when I was lost. And this is one of those tools that's in this book where a mission statement helps you to decide what you should be working on. The idea is that you come up with your own personal mission statement of things that are your core values. The first step to becoming principle centered is coming up with your core values. And that's why this is such a powerful tool, because the only way you can become principle centered is by first knowing your principles. You should make it based off of what your core values are. And so, there's a lot of different stories in the book. Like, let's say you're about to go to dinner with your wife and your boss calls you, production's down or something, and he wants you at work right away, right? What's your decision? What do you do in that? Are you family centered? Do you go to dinner with your wife and say, forget work? Are you work centered? Do you go to work and do it because you're so focused on climbing the career ladder? Are you self-centered, right? We all know what self-centered actually is, right? Are your core principles driven by like what's going to make me the what's the best idea for me right now? Is my wife really mad at me and we might break up if I go do this? Or is my boss really mad at me and I might get fired? And which one do I think is more better for me to improve my life, right? That's self-centered. By creating a mission statement and coming up with true core values, it's a lot easier to make those principle-centered decisions under those emotionally strained situations. And so that's why I personally believe that this is such a strong tool, used the right way, could really help you to not make emotionally driven decisions and make more core centric decisions.
And you're saying like the personal mission statement is in a certain way, it's trying to remove the noise, right? Of there's so many other things I need to think about right now. But the personal mission statement is a way of saying, what are my values when I'm clear headed?
Yeah.
And how does my decision in this task right now reflect those values? Because it's really easy to go and make a choice that is not based on anything, just in the moment.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is like a way of kind of guiding you towards something that you'll be happy with long term.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I was going to say was I didn't create this my first time around. Honestly, because I found it really hard. It was still really abstract to me. I didn't fully understand it. And I'll confess, even this time, reading it a second time, just like you said, I found it really, I could actually make a work mission statement pretty easily. I could make, you know, even a family one I think would be really fun, but a personal one, that is really hard because you have to self-reflect. Now, but I did a hack this time around. And this is
You
what
had
I'm going to
a
tell you. I used AI. I truly did. So I want you to try this, Josh. So basically what I did was to make the AI more powerful to help you. One, feed it context before you actually start doing this. So feed it like the first habit, feed it that the, different 12 habit. If you can find some like mission statement, there's a website to help you build a mission statement
I know
actually built by
the
this book.
company related to this book made their
Yeah,
own like
but I didn't find that one helpful because I needed to have an interaction with someone. And so what I found really easy was, I fed AI all this. And then afterwards, I told the AI, I specifically told it, do not create me a mission statement. I want you to specifically ask me questions so that I can create my mission statement based off of the questions you're asking me. Help me help me come up with my mission statement by asking me the right questions to get me the true mission statement.
Hmm.
And that is how I was able to build this mission statement that I sent you.
And
And
it's
I think
great, by the way. I think that this came out really good because
it's true to heart. It's really strong. It really is. Now the thing that I do like that it helped me with is it actually created me like the mission statements for different perspectives in my life, right?
Mhm.
Like my mission statement of just who I am, my mission statement at work, my mission statement for, in general, just in life. And then it also gave me some personal growth commitments, right? Some things I could do to improve upon different aspects of my life, which I thought were also super powerful. I'm committing both of us in this podcast, posting it on our website. So if anyone's interested, go to our website. There'll be a new tab called missions. You'll be able to find Jesse's mission statement, Josh's mission statement, and go look at it. But I think this is really great in a couple different ways for everyone who's trying to build a very strong resume. If I read a resume that had a strong, impactful, like mission statement at the beginning that said exactly who you are and why you work, like I think that would be super powerful.
I I agree with you because I think there are some people, don't get me wrong, there are some people at companies that are just looking for um technical skills,
Yeah,
right? They want somebody who has experience running, Kubernetes in production.
yeah,
But there's a lot of other people that are looking for, especially in DevOps, that sort of transformative change for a company.
yeah,
And, when I read your personal mission statement, the core values, the mission, this is like resume material, right?
yeah, yeah,
They're very positive, but they're also very much something that works for a lot of companies are looking for, and they don't know how to ask the question,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah, and that's what it is, a little bit exposing, right? Because I do also talk about my weaknesses in there and what I
Hmm.
want to work on. But I think I think it's really good. Honestly, I wish I had this back. We worked together. When I joined the platform engineering team, I wish I had this mission statement to give you guys because these were the core values I inhabited. These were the things I always worked work towards. And I think once you got to know me, this made sense. But when you first met me, I could be a little abrasive and you didn't really know where I was coming from. And
Yes.
so having this from the beginning, knowing at least where I'm coming from, I could see it being very easier to get to know me by having that. Right?
Yes. We are doing changes that some people in the company aren't for because they like doing it the way it's always been done.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of these mission statements are saying, hey, as a personal goal, as a developmental goal for myself, I really want to accomplish this.
Yeah.
Right. And if they can say, oh, you're not doing this because you hate me,
Yeah.
you're doing this because this makes sense from a goal perspective, right? I'm sure there are some people that would say, whatever, I'm not going to listen to this guy. He doesn't know what he's doing. But there's going to be enough people who say, this is coming from a good, solid place.
Yeah.
I can disagree and we can talk about that, but it's not coming from a place of, I just want to disrupt, right? For the sake
Actually,
of disruption.
and that's a really good point too. Getting back to the kind of first chapters in this book about the old lady versus young lady, by giving you my mission statement, I am showing you my perspective. So when you want to debate me, and again, it's easier to debate someone once you understand their perspective and show them where they're wrong from their perspective, right? Now you have my perspective. So now when you debate me, you can go, hey man, listen, I know you mean to try to do this, but this is destroying my innovation. And I go, wait, what? Right? Right?
Yeah.
Like, think
That's a
about
good
it. Think about how
conversation to
strong.
have.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I'm about to print this out and send it to all my teammates right now. Just mail it to them
I like it.
or
I like it.
post it on my Slack as like the first message you ever send me. It just automatically sends my mission statement.
Or like, hey, you can have automatic responses to emails or whatever. And you're like, even I'm not even on vacation. I just want you to know this before you talk to me. Like this. I do think that there is value from the resume perspective. I think I want to go and create my own. I think I will create my own. I think you've put me up to it. And I think there's a lot of use cases for this, not just in the resume, but literally at work, right? I could put this up on my wall, on my cubicle, or wherever you work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whenever I get a task, I say, is this actually something that's going to help me accomplish my goals?
Yeah.
So I'm going to move a little bit to the centers. So you're having dinner with your family and your boss says, hey, production's down. What do you do? And if you're quote unquote work centered, right, then you might say, yeah, you know what? I got to go handle this. If you're family centered, you might say, you know what? Work can wait. I can focus on my family.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other centers. I won't go at each of them, but essentially the idea is that at various points in our time, we're thinking about different things, right? So
Yeah.
the different centers are spouse centeredness, right? The main person in your life, your family centeredness. So your whole family, money centeredness. I think a lot of these I want to say are self-explanatory, but the devil's in the details. It's kind of just an enjoyable section because it kind of makes people into caricatures. But I do think in various points in our life, we do become caricatures because we're focused on something more than anything else. You should be basing what you do on what you think is actually important, not just on the first thing that comes to your mind, right? Or the mode that you're currently in. You should be thinking, how as a person should I respond to this?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the additional say is that there's a table from 133 to 135. I think is like fantastic, but I implore everyone to go back and read the power column of all of those because I feel like the power column like almost shows the power in why you don't want to be that type of center,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know I talk about this with a lot of different friends, and I'm actually interested in your viewpoint, Josh. a lot of people that I talk to about like this type of idea about centering yourself and making decisions based off of the center, there's a couple people who have a problem not being family centered. Right. I bring up the idea of like, if let's say you have like some sort of family member who is addicted to drugs and they come and ask you for money, what do you do? And they always say, I would just give them money, their family, let them stay, their family. Right. And in their minds, you never do anything against your family. They are very strongly family centered. And I do think that is a social taboo in society that you should be very family centered. If family comes calling, you drop everything and do that for your family. So, what are your thoughts about
Yeah.
that?
It's funny going down this rabbit hole. I was definitely brought up in like, a very middle class suburban neighborhood. And I was actually brought up with the idea that, like, no, what's more important than family? The law. And if your brother commits a crime,
Yeah, yeah,
then you go to the police and you let them know. Like, that's almost more important than family, right?
yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
that people follow the rules.
So, law centered is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that they don't bring this up in the book, but yeah, exactly. It was more of a law centered.
I could definitely give you some examples where that's not probably something you want to follow.
No, hey, listen, I played enough D&D to know that just blindly following the law means you can also do evil, right?
That's a really good extreme example of you shouldn't be centered. There's gonna be like you should be principle centered. You should not be family centered or law centered because that's a very extreme example, but that very much is a good one.
For instance, like, let's say your family member murders someone. That's a terrible thing, right? They should go to jail. But then you realize that you live in a place where jail means they will get killed.
Yeah,
Then you might say, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to go and tell the police because I think that they will learn more than our punitive theoretical justice system is giving them. So I might be making different choices, but again, this is based on how I believe things work, right? Now, if they find out for whatever reason that I knew that this person killed somebody and I didn't go to the police and I could be held liable, well, I have my family and I have my kids I want to support. And what's more important? Like, there's a lot of times where you're making these different choices. I do think having that personal mission statement and that helps you kind of find that principle center. You might say, it's a really hard decision to say, I'm going to, potentially step away from my family for 20 years
yeah,
because I believe in something.
yeah, yeah.
I just hope I never have to make that choice.
So what type of center are you? Are you principle centered or do you float between some centers? Do you gravitate towards one more than the other?
I definitely float. I definitely float. I'm probably closer to principle centered in general, but it's really hard to go and say that I'm distinctly one. Like, what am I not? I'm very not possession or money centered. Work, I think pleasure. I think family and self, I would probably say
You're
are my top
self-centered.
ones. But yeah, those are my top ones. I'm certainly not friend or enemy centered. Like, I love my friends,
Yeah.
Um, the principle centered comes when I think about my impact, and I do think about that. I do get moments where I say, is what I'm doing at work actually going to have an impact in society, right?
Yeah.
When I do stuff in my town, for instance, I'm doing that largely out of a place of I want our world to be a better place,
Yeah.
and that comes out of principles. But I don't have a mission statement. I'm going to go and create one. But my general feeling and the reason I felt hesitant to make one is because I don't feel like I'm missing anything by not having it. I feel like jumping around from the different centeredness still means like at any given point I have a focus on life and they're positive focuses. Like, I think, looking at the list of the different centers, I agree that there's some weaknesses in being like family centered or, pleasure centered or friend centered. But at the end of the day, I also feel like I'm not missing anything in my life currently. I think that's what makes it really hard And maybe after I do this thing, I'll come back to this and say, hey, Jesse, we got to re-record this. I realize that the personal mission statement is the most important thing to do.
Oh no. No, yeah, well, we'll just do a follow-up episode. I think it'll be a perfect one. But with that being said, you know, it's not impossible for someone to be just naturally inhabiting, any one of these habits. And I've brought it up before that you do inhabit a lot of these habits just naturally. But, and like, that's the thing. So, like, maybe, this habit is less important to you because you don't need the mission statement because you are principle centered already. But like I said, having that mission statement to at least give to other people so that they know where you're coming from. I'm sure there's times in your life where you have gotten into a debate with someone and you couldn't convince them your way, they couldn't convince you yours. And maybe having that mission statement would have just been that much easier, you know?
Honestly, you're a good salesman, and I've definitely I see the value.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see the value. Like this book didn't convince me of the value, but you right now
Yeah, yeah.
have convinced me that there is value in creating this. If I create a personal mission statement, this is not an unchangeable thing, right? As you grow, you can change it, you can adapt it. And
I think he even suggests changing it like at weekly. I think he said he reviewed it on a bench in his park every week and
it can't
changed
all
it.
be Stephen Covey, but
If only.
he later goes into the idea of different kind of mission statements, right? He talked about the family mission statement, right? He talks about the
Yep.
organizational
Yep.
mission statement. I actually really love the idea of the family mission statement because I think
Mm.
families, especially like, okay, you meet your spouse, you get along well enough, and you say, let's start a family. But the goal of that union is often kind of ephemeral. You feel
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a collection of our values. And the moment you
Yeah.
have kids, you're like, oh, wait a second, we brought somebody into
Yep.
this
Yeah.
thing, and they didn't really have a choice, but then now they're part of it. I
Yeah.
like the idea of the family mission statement where you and your spouse and your kids kind of come together and say,
Yeah.
what do we value? And I talked with my wife actually after reading this section. I said, what what is our family mission
Yeah.
statement?
Yeah.
What are we trying to do with this family? And I think it was really productive. I think with going to organizational mission statements, one of the things that he brings up, which I also think is very valuable. I think sometimes this book feels like it's geared at the CEO who wants to be a better CEO,
Yeah.
who is pretty much a jerk to everybody in the company.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of the things about the organizational mission statement is making sure that everybody in the organization is involved with making the organizational mission statement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't just have like the C-suite go and say, we really care about honesty, and then find out that the rest of the company, even though they like that, they're not necessarily going to be invested in it because they didn't help create it. So doing it with everybody in the group, I think is really powerful. And it doesn't need to be, he has a story about a hotel, right? Where the hotels, the individual hotels, the people work there come together to create their mission statement, and it created a more powerful, cohesive workplace.
And so this is I think really important about how to execute upon it, because the idea is that your higher ups, so the C-suite, is supposed to create their mission statement first, right? And then once they create their mission statement, they can create KPIs, key
Yeah.
performance indicators, that can fulfill those at the C-suite level, right? And then the next step is every single one of those C-suites are supposed to go into a meeting with their own direct reports, right? Well, so the C-suites agree upon which KPIs they can control, right? And then they go into their direct reports and they create their own mission statements with their own direct reports, right? And they come up with a mission statement that fulfills that KPI, or the KPIs that C level committed to. And then those people are supposed to go to their direct reports with the KPIs and say, what is our mission statement to fulfill these KPIs? Now, the importance of this is that each one of those KPIs, they get like their grand, right? At the top, it's we need to make $3 million by the end of the year. We need to sell this product to this many customers by this time, right? And so they're higher ups, but what's it's supposed to break down to is eventually when it gets to like our level, the KPIs break down from, we need to make $30 million a year. We need to sign on 58,000 customers onto this product line, blah, blah, blah. And then when we get it, it's broken down into what can we do to make sure that we get, 55 customers onto our product line within this. And the DevOps team can go, well, we can make sure that we can spin up 55 sites, within minutes. And we can make sure that features are delivered, right? So it becomes a lot easier to do it. And I think that's a big failure at a lot of these organizations is they fail to break these higher level organization objectives down into like something that actually matters to like your specific branch. And, it's worse in bigger companies than smaller companies, but that I think that's the big failure.
I'm excited for habit number 3, which I think does actually delve into this a little bit. But I think that what often stops those organizational missions from being hit is the firefighting, is the daily oh, you know what? Yes, our goal is to spin up 55 new sites, but you know what? This person just said that they couldn't log into some node because they didn't have the correct key. And so we need to go and make sure that their key matches so they can actually get into the node, right? Sometimes you choose to work on something that feels immediate over working on the stuff that's actually important because you're not focused on the mission.
Well, it's not that you're not focused. You're not bought into the mission statement.
Sure,
you don't understand the mission statement, right? I think that's the power of the mission statement is if you make your team build this, then they will commit to it. And so when an issue like that comes up, they can go, hey, if I drop what I'm working on right now to help this customer, is it going to make it so we can't achieve one of these objectives? Or does helping this customer help us achieve one of these objectives? And that, it shifts you away from that centeredness, right? That friend-centered, that helping-centered, that work-centered, and it shifts you more towards it. And that's why this chapter is first before the quadrant chapter. Right. Because how do you even make yourself not work on it unless you don't know if you should work on it or not? Right. And that's why that mission statement's there. That mission statement tells you whether or not you should be focusing on those stuff,
Totally true. Again, the first habit is saying, hey, you can choose what you want to do. And habit 2 says, decide what it is that you want to do. The highlight from this habit, I think, is figuring out that personal mission statement, but also the mission statements of the different groups that you belong to. And that might be a simple way that in that moment of stress, you can go and reflect and say, this is actually what I stand for.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. Yeah. The mission statement's a tool to convert you to principle centered so that you can make the right decisions.
And that was our containerized conversation. I'm Jesse Caffarelli.
I'm Josh Warhurst. Have a great night.